Things Podcast. Hey, Phantomaniacs, welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. I am your host, Dave, and I just finished watching the first 3 episodes of Castle Rock on Hulu. I don't love Hulu. I don't think it's the best of the streaming services. It infuriates me that it's a pay service that has commercials. And as Mrs. Troublemaker pointed out, well, at least they tell you how long the commercials are going to be on. And yes, that is okay, but it just drives me nuts. And now, to double down on the annoying things that are like free TV, to me, it's just you and me here. So I'll admit something. The worst thing to happen in the history of television, to television, I guess, is when networks started putting that little call sign graphic in the bottom corner of the screen. I hate it so much. Everything that I watch, that little graphic detracts from my enjoyment of it by like 15%. I don't understand it. It makes me so angry. And then I look at Hulu, which, first of all, why is that even necessary? I fucking know I turned Hulu on because I have to turn the PS4 on, and I have to start Hulu, and I have to select the thing with everything saying Hulu, Hulu, and then it starts up and it goes BOONG in the ridiculously loud. Why does Hulu have like 5 different volumes? The show you're watching is one volume. The introduction is another ridiculously loud volume. The commercials are even louder than that. Can we settle on a volume, Hulu? Can you get your shit under control, please? Anyway, that's how good Castle Rock is. That I'm willing to deal with the indignities involved in watching the horrible shit show that is Hulu. And look, I'll admit it, their interface is nice. Everything's pretty slick, it moves nicely, but those things that I just yelled about really bother me. But Castle Rock, or at least the first 3 episodes of Castle Rock, are so good that I'll deal with it. It's worth it. It's worth it. And yes, I know, before somebody sends me a message, because believe you me, I'm well aware that the only thing that is going to get responses and messages on this show is when somebody feels like they can point out something I said that was incorrect or a piece of information I might have missed. Nobody ever says, hey, good job, I really agree with you about the thing. It's always, well, actually, if you have a well, actually comment, what I'd like you to do is take it, turn that sumbitch sideways, and stick it straight up your candy ass. I don't need any well, actually, because I probably know. Anyway, so Castle Rock is great. Watch it. If you're a Stephen King fan, you're just going to be sitting there the whole time going, oh my gosh, look, it's that. Oh, that's that. Oh, this connects to that. Which granted, for the past probably 20 years we've been doing with his books anyway. But this show condenses it all into one setting, and it looks like I've always pictured his settings in my head. It feels right. The characters feel like King characters. The dialogue is King at his least campy. I don't know that campy is the right word, but you know how sometimes his dialogue is a little over the top. Not like Rob Zombie dialogue over the top, but you still, every once in a while, there'll be a turn of phrase that in your head you're like, nobody talks like that. There's not really any of that. It's wonderful. I dig it. I wish all of the episodes were available now. I wish it was like a soap opera, and then we got an episode every single day. It's just awesome, and there's so much potential for amazing storytelling just with what they've set up so far. So I'm very excited about Castle Rock. I recommend it to anybody who has Hulu, anybody who doesn't have Hulu. Look, you're going to be mad at me when you see all the annoying things about Hulu, but I do believe it's worth your time to sign up and check out Castle Rock. Now, whether you wait until they're all out so you can watch them all, or however you want to do it, is up to you. But it's very, very cool. I dig it. The other thing that I want to talk about is not quite as happy time news as Castle Rock is. Today's episode is me, Jay, and Ryan talking about the movies, TV shows, and some comic news from San Diego Comic-Con. Basically everything that's not toys we cover here that was of interest to us. And something that we didn't really talk about, because I knew I would be discussing it here in the intro, is James Gunn. And this has me pretty fired up in a different way from Hulu's general sort of shittiness. If you don't know, and I don't know how you wouldn't know, James Gunn was fired from Disney. So Guardians of the Galaxy 3, at this point, will not be directed by James Gunn. Now, I assume they'll still use the script however far he got into it. I think they'd be insane not to. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. I will say right now that Disney was wrong, 100% wrong, to fire James Gunn over the tweets from, a few years ago. People are saying a decade ago. It's not a decade ago. But it really doesn't matter to me how long ago it was. I looked at the tweets, and here's one thing you got to do. And I don't have them sitting in front of me right now, but you've got to look the tweets up, because you'll find that many of the articles talking about the fact that James Gunn was fired from Disney for tweets referencing rape and pedophilia, which is a relatively inaccurate headline. I mean, it's accurate for the day that we live in, but it does not share the whole story. But for some strange reason, very few of the articles about this actually contain the tweets. So you got to do a little digging, and you can find the tweets that Gunn got in trouble for. And I'll tell you right now, they're hilarious. They're in horrible taste, and they're not for polite company. And he probably shouldn't have shared them on Twitter. But I've said worse things in my life, or at least things as bad in my life with friends, and then I just, there's nothing there that anybody but a complete moron would take as a serious statement that James Gunn is making about his lifestyle, other than he can make really gross, crass jokes in poor taste, which is not something that anybody should get in trouble for, unless they're doing it in like a really like if he had walked into the Disney offices and been like, "Hey, we're going to do voiceover for an animated movie aimed at children, consisting of these tweets," that would have been a bad move. Anyway, I think Disney was wrong. I think their move should have been. Gunn has already apologized for these tweets in the past, and he has. He should have deleted them. The Gunn is not innocent here. I do need to make that clear. I don't find that James Gunn is innocent, but I don't find that Disney should have fired him. They should have stepped up and said, "We were aware of this. We know Gunn's background. Obviously, we're not morons who just hired some guy off the street to direct movies for us. But he has grown as a person. He's a different person now. We all have to embrace change and growth and respect that people can change. We are not going to let these things affect our business relationship with this man who has brought so much joy and so much storytelling magic to so many millions of people around the world." Something to that effect. But there is a reason Disney did not do that, and it has nothing to do with morality. It has nothing to do with their concerns about James Gunn corrupting the Marvel Universe or anything like that. And it has nothing to do with Disney possibly even... And look, I am speaking here from my 42 years of life observation. I don't know any more about this story than anybody else does. This is all my feelings about this thing. But Disney, you know, they don't think that he's going to suddenly corrupt the world with his evil. Disney did this because they have a giant merger coming up with Fox, or acquisition, rather. It's not a merger, it's an acquisition that has to go through the government. And this is where James Gunn's culpability comes in. James Gunn is a vocal opponent of the president, Donald Trump, which it you know, I don't talk about my politics much here, but it pains me to have to say the president, Donald Trump. Gunn is an opponent of Trump's. Gunn is on Twitter a lot, talking about how awful Trump is. And this is where I think Gunn is stupid and to a certain extent has reaped what he has sown. Because if James Gunn had chosen his words and actions more carefully, if he had chosen a different tone for his opposition to what is happening in the American government right now, he could have been a valuable voice of opposition rather than yet another screeching, hysterical doomsayer. The last thing that anybody who is in opposition to President Trump needs to be is yet another shrill, angry voice in the crowd. At this point in his career, James Gunn has so much respect, so much goodwill, so much good favor from the public of the world, not just the American public, that if he had just taken the time to couch his protest differently, he really could have made a difference. But he didn't. Instead, he got on Twitter like every other screaming idiot and made a big display of himself, changing nobody's mind, causing the opposition to plant their feet even more firmly, and causing people who may not necessarily share his political beliefs, but who respect him as an individual. Maybe if he'd taken a different tactic, maybe he could have gotten those people to think to themselves, man, James Gunn seems like a pretty together guy. I can tell from his public persona and from a lot of what he says online, he's a loving, caring, intelligent individual. I really dig what he does. Gosh, maybe I need to sit down and take a look at what's going on. And I'm not talking about the insanos who are backing Trump 100% in everything he does. I'm talking about those important people who are one side or the other in the middle. I feel like James Gunn could have used his influence and accomplished something rather than accomplishing what has happened now, in that he no longer is part of the most powerful entertainment and communications company on the planet. Now he can't do anything, because even if he has an audience now, he has been shamed out of the loop to a certain extent. And I think it sucks. I really hate it that as intelligent as I think he is, he wasn't smart enough to handle the power that he had in a smarter way. But Disney is still wrong. The other thing that I want to address, and look, I'm really sorry, you guys, that don't want to hear this kind of talk from me, and I know it's unusual, but you know how much I love James Gunn. I have talked for years, ever since the Scooby-Doo movies. I was like, wow, this guy is good. Up the Scooby-Doo movies, up through Super, up through everything that he's done, Slither. Like, I just love the guy. I think he's a tremendous talent and I have a lot of respect for him. and that's one of the reasons I'm discussing this. And also the fact that it's political. It's 100% political, but to me, it's also we're at a dangerous tipping point of society, and we really need to sit down and be like, whoa, wait a minute. We're letting and this is the other side of it that I have to address, we are letting a far-right conservative shitbag, and I'm not using conservative necessarily as a derogatory term, but Mike Cernovich is human garbage. If you go and examine, there's another set of tweets that you need to go and examine from him that essentially, and this is lifestyle stuff, essentially support rape, essentially demean the humanity of women. This guy is trash, but because he doesn't work for a corporation like Disney, there's not really a way to have punitive measures against him or to hold him accountable for the insane bullshit that he spews and for the McCarthy-like environment that he's creating. I was going to say trying to create, is creating, because this is already had its second potential victim in Dan Harmon that this trash bag Cernovich unearthed. This is what he does, and it's transparently for a political agenda. Of course, he claims he's trying to save the children, which is the age-old cry of the fascist oppressor. What about the children? But this Cernovich guy also went after Dan Harmon. Unfortunately, Adult Swim is not like Disney, and they said, well, yeah, of course we knew about this. We know it's not appropriate for Adult Swim. Dan Harmon knows it's not appropriate for Adult Swim. It was before he worked for us, so let's move on. Adult Swim is had a different tack, and granted, they have a lot less at stake than Disney, so it is easier. Much like me, I am a little teeny weeny podcaster that means nothing to no one, so I can say whatever I want without really, if I was higher up the entertainment food chain, I might not be so willing to openly say that Mike Cernovich is a fucking dumpster douche that should be shot into the sun. I might be choosing my words a little more carefully, but because Lord knows, if you go back and look at needlessthingspodcast.com in its entirety, there's stuff in there I'm not proud of. There's verbiage that I would not use today. There are things that, I have over the last 10 years, I've grown as a person. I've learned things. I've come to look at other people in different ways. I have changed a lot. So, if somebody wanted to go back and look at Needless Things podcast, they could very easily say, hey, look at this early article where he said some guy in cosplay looked like a homo. And that's there somewhere for sure. And it wasn't in any way, I grew up using homo and retard as derogatory terms, having nothing to do with homosexuals, having nothing to do with the mentally challenged. It was just another way of saying jerk, idiot, moron, whatever. And to me, there was never a connection to actual, people. But then as I got older, I realized, well, it doesn't matter what it means to me. It matters what it means to other people. It matters if somebody hears me say words like that and it hurts them. Well, I don't want that to happen, so I don't use that language anymore. And that's part of the growing process, and that's part of the same thing that James Gunn went through, I'm sure. So anyway, I'm rambling a little bit now, and I didn't mean to turn this into a thing about me, but at the same time, I relate to the potential for past misdeeds affecting the present. And I think it's not okay that Disney said, it doesn't matter if you change, we're going to punish you anyway. But I don't believe they did it for any reason other than to protect their acquisition. And that's shitty, but that's business. And because of how James Gunn chose to conduct himself, he is somewhat culpable in that. As you can hear, Mr. Otis is just as furious about this as I am. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. If you want to throw it in the trash, you absolutely can. If you agree with me, great. If you don't agree with me, and I know there are some that do not. I have seen people that I think of as very intelligent and very reasonable who think Disney did the right thing. And to some, maybe they did. I've seen people that I think of as reasonable, intelligent, who genuinely think that James Gunn was condoning rape with those tweets. And I think that's a little ridiculous. But that's a conversation to be had in person, in friendly environment, and not on Facebook, and certainly not on Twitter. I have seriously considered leaving Twitter, but really, people are blaming Twitter. Twitter's not to blame. James Gunn is to blame. He should have deleted that shit. Anyway, that's it. That's how I feel. That's how Mr. Otis feels. Clearly, I've been going on too long in my intro. So now it's time to have some fun and to sit down with our head of research, Ryan, and belligerent monkey, Jay, and talk about everything at San Diego Comic-Con 2018 that wasn't toys. Toys will be next week. Don't you worry, Phantomaniacs. Toys are next week. I just didn't want to throw a 3-hour episode down on you, especially when I knew I'd be going way long in this intro. So here we go. It's time for some Mystery Men, and then it's time for some nerd talk. What we're going to talk about now, though, is all the cool movies and TV stuff that happened at San Diego Comic-Con. There were some really, really big things. There were some surprising things, and we're going to analyze really only the stuff we're interested in. I'm not even going to try to say we're going to cover everything, but there's some key points that we're going to sit here and talk about, and we're sitting here talking about them with our head of research, Ryan. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
And our pal Belligerent Monkey, who I believe is finishing dinner. Oh, wait, let me go back. Our pal, as featured on the hit Netflix television show, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. Is it still called that, or is it just Queer Eye now?
I think it's just Queer Eye these days.
Oh, okay. I can't keep up with these things. As featured on the hit Netflix television show, Queer Eye, our pal Belligerent Monkey, Jay Hornsby.
Hello. Yeah, I got the, as quickly as I got the notification that I was in it, my wife sent me a text that said, "Hey, I don't think you made it to the renovation." My print was deemed not appropriate and it put in the trash. So
that was sort of my assumption that you were part of the before picture.
Yeah, I was the before version. Much like my oldest daughter is a big fan of paraphrasing their rant on cargo pants, because apparently cargo pants are a big no-no in their mind, and that's what I wear. So,
well, our pal Rad Ranger feels that way too, and he and the queer guys are just wrong.
Yeah, absolutely,
they're just
100%.
Wrong.
Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page, because I could spend the next half an hour explaining why they're absolutely wrong, and there's no debate.
Yeah, that's just it's just a fact that it's convenient to have plenty of pockets.
I need pockets.
As any female will tell you, we all need pockets. The common complaint about female clothing not having pockets. So, first I want to talk about the DC Universe streaming service. Did you guys sign up?
We're going to. I haven't paid the money yet, but it's going to happen.
I went ahead and did it, not because of the one thing that we're getting ready to talk about by any means, but because during San Diego Comic-Con they had a pre-sale where if you signed up, you would get because it's $75 for 12 months is the standard pricing. But if you did what they were calling a pre-order, which at this point it's still all a pre-order because it doesn't launch until October, I think, you would get 15 months for $75. And from what they have said so far that the service will be, that to me is worth giving it a shot for 15 months. And also, I have to have those Justice League Unlimited figures.
Yeah, and Justice League.
Who's not doing the what now? I missed. Again, I feel bad. I mentioned earlier that every time we do one of these, I feel like I apologize for not being as prepared as I should be. Let's just assume one has not had a chance to review everything and just explain for the listener, not for me, but for the listener, what you're talking about.
So, for those not in the know.
Which again, not me. It could be whoever may be listening to this after the fact.
When the only way to get, as of now, the Justice League animated figures, which are in the style that DC has been doing for the Batman animated, is to get the subscription service.
Sold.
Yeah,
right.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean that's what you would say if you hadn't.
Yeah. I don't know if they announced a price on them. It's not like you pay the $75 and then just get the figures. Like
no,
they're it just
not...
gives you the option to buy this set, but they look real good.
Yeah, they were. What's funny is, and we've talked about this a couple times on the show, is last year a boxed Martian Manhunter leaked online, or pictures of it leaked online, and nobody knew what it was, nobody knew what it was from, and at the time, DC Collectibles had kind of put a stop to soliciting any of the animated figures or anything, which we'll talk about that when we get to the toy episode. But so we knew Manhunter existed. We have speculated for years now that the plan was to roll into Justice League Unlimited, and for the first time we've now seen them, and the only way to get them and other exclusive merchandise. This is something that got overlooked, I think, in some outlets. It's not just those Justice League figures. There will be ongoing runs of merchandise that you can only get if you're signed up for DC Universe.
Yeah, the only downside of what I see so far is I was really hoping that they were going to run their comic side of it like Marvel does. Mm-hmm. I understand they're offering a hell of a lot more content than Marvel Unlimited does.
Yeah.
But I was just hoping, they're saying that their comic section is going to be curated is the word they used. So I guess it's going to be main runs. It's going to be, here and there. I think it'll be big, and I think it'll be worth it.
Well, even the Marvel is curated. It only has certain issues, and there's definitely gaps that they still have.
I took curated to mean we don't have everything ready to go digital yet. We're going to parse it out over the course of time, partially just for the practicality of, 80 years worth of material, but also partially because they have to have a way to keep you in the subscription, to get new customers in. It's a business model. I mean, like anything else, they have to figure out the most efficient way to retain current customers and generate new customers.
I mean, overall, what do we have? They have Swamp Thing, Doom Patrol, Young Justice. I'm really looking forward to Young Justice continuing. I was a big fan.
Yeah, and that trailer was solid, too.
Yeah,
100% on that. And didn't they say there's supposed to be a new episode every week, so it's 2 weeks of new content?
Mm-hmm.
The Harley Quinn cartoon.
Yeah. Greg Berlanti is doing Stargirl, which it's
that's right.
I can't tell 100% if it's Arrowverse linked or not. I'm going to imagine it is because it's him, but that was another one they announced.
The quote about Swamp Thing is that it is not linked to because Titans and Doom Patrol are a shared universe. Swamp Thing is not part of that universe, and Jeff Johns said that there was no mandate for any of these shows to share universes with any of the other shows, that they were all being encouraged to do whatever they needed to do to make the best show possible.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So they're not part of the DC extended universe now known as Worlds of DC, I think.
Yeah, Worlds.
Oh, is that what they're calling the movies now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've officially changed it. It was never officially DC.
Right.
Yeah,
That was
EU.
dumb.
That's just what everybody called it. But they came out this weekend and officially announced that the DC universe is now known as the Worlds of DC, I think. Again, if I was prepared, I would know that.
It's
Well, I
that or
didn't know that
DC
at all,
Worlds.
so-
Something Worlds. It doesn't sound very good, but
It sounds like people were not happy with the DC extended universe, so they're trying to come up with a different name for the same thing.
what I like is, it is Worlds of DC. I like how it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel is a whole universe of excitement. DC, just a few worlds.
Well, but
it's all right.
Yeah,
calling
52
it,
of them.
calling
Yeah,
it
52.
Worlds of DC does give them room to do things that Joker origin movie, which I'm not going to card out and say is a bad idea because I don't know, because I haven't seen a script. I don't know anything about it. So
I don't know. That
It's-
picture they released of it, I think, looks kind of cool.
I mean, it's nobody's place at this point to say whether or not that's a good idea or a bad idea.
Well, that's what they've been doing for a while, though, because they have the CW shows, and they've said for forever that that's a completely different universe, different world. Movies are one thing.
Well,
They got
even-
the animated stuff that's coming out. That's a different thing.
Even within
but
the
Marvel's
movies,
always
though.
been all about everything's being the same.
Even within the movies, though, even all of the movies are not going to be part of the same universe. This Joker origin movie is going to be completely separate from Suicide Squad and everything else, which is why Joaquin Phoenix is playing Joker as opposed to Jared Leto. So they're giving themselves an out from having to share a universe and giving themselves the ability to tell different kinds of stories and not be saddled to one creative vision. So, I think that's good.
Yeah, for me, as much as I loved the whole DC basis of, or being based on the multiple universes and Crisis on Infinite Earths, it seems like that's been kind of a shitty out for all their decisions the last 10 years, from Flashpoint till now to the movies. It's been an easy out for them.
Yeah, but they've got to have something, because obviously what they've done so far has not been well received. And while they still, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Aquaman are all rooted in that, they're kind of committed to it, but they can also look at other options now, other ways to do things. And I think it's not a bad idea.
For the
we'll
properties,
see.
that's definitely the way to go. I just think it's funny that something I loved about them years ago as a kid is something that I don't necessarily care for now.
Well,
Speaking of which,
oh yeah, let's go ahead.
Titans trailer. Oh boy, I don't even know what to say about it.
Well, let me play devil's advocate. I really like. I like what I've seen of Raven and of the story. And here's something that's confused me about online response, is I've seen quite a few people saying, well, they don't even tell you what the story is. And if you...
I don't want that.
Well, if you can't pick up the story from that trailer, then maybe television's a little too advanced for you. Maybe you need to go back to coloring books and puzzles and stuff, because the story is there. Raven is having natural bullshit in her life, and Detective Dick Grayson, freshly left out of Batman's shadow for assistance, plus Beast Boy and Starfire. What more do you... It's a freaking trailer. What do you need? Do you want them to send you the pilot script? I mean, what do you need out of this thing? So anyway, what I liked what I saw of Raven. I liked the idea of... Because you've got to remember, this has got to be episodic television. This has got to... they have to tie these characters together in a way that comic books don't necessarily have to do, because of the way they can jump around and tell the stories. So we have a reason for Raven to be here. She has issues. She has problems. We have Dick Grayson, and everybody was like, oh, that's not Dick Grayson. That's not Dick Grayson. Well, you know what? If you go back and look at when Dick left Bruce and became Nightwing and started the Titans, he was angry at Bruce Wayne. And to take that, if you try to look at those comics in a modern context, it's almost corny the way they portray the anger at that time. So if you know that story and you put it in that modern televised context, him having that anger and him saying fuck Batman really isn't that outrageous. It just isn't. And yeah, DC very obviously put that front and center of the trailer to generate buzz.
Yeah.
There's speculation that that's not even an actual thing, that much like the Dawn of Justice, that there was some kind of dream sequence about how dark Robin could go, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. We don't know. I will say, though, there were a lot of things that I didn't like about the trailer. I think Starfire looks terrible. It is very, very dark. I don't like seeing Dove slicing people's tendons and knees and shit up. I don't think that's... That's
kind of opposite of her whole thing.
Yeah, do they, and that's one of the things, and that's the problem, is overall with the Titans trailer, I can sit back and look and see, okay, if we take this apart and we look at each piece, I can see how things might work and how all the thing off, aside from Starfire looking terrible. And I'm not talking about her ethnicity. I'm talking about she just looks like a pile of trash.
Her hair looks just as bad as the Medusa stuff from Inhumans.
Yeah, it's bad. But
yeah. I agree with you that Raven was great. I thought she was perfect. That she's Raven. She's the angsty kid that's having issues. I didn't mind most of the stuff with Robin. The only thing I thought was funny was after all the complaints about how dark DC was, they doubled down and
right.
Oh yeah, you want to make fun of us for being dark? We'll show you dark. But other than that, I agree with Starfire. She just looked bad, just from the special effects and even Beast Boy. At least he was green. Some of the preset photos showed him, pre-CGI.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns too. Is this is going to be another thing where we're embarrassed that it's from a comic book, so we're not going to make him look like the comic book. But I get what everybody's saying is that when you add up all of the things about this trailer that are bad, it's too much. But if you took just a couple of them or found out the context for just a couple, it's not as bad as everyone's saying it is.
It's one of those, we're just it's really a wait and see one, too.
Yeah.
And like you said, we haven't seen a lot of it. DC is notorious for putting together terrible trailers.
And vice versa. Putting pretty okay trailers. Suicide Squad looked amazing. Batman vs. Looked great in their trailer. So, we'll see.
Let's see.
So we also have... I don't think we found out anything about Doom Patrol. Like I said, Swamp Thing is not in the shared universe that Titans and Doom Patrol are in. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's a whole lot more to say about the streaming service because they haven't announced much more yet other than they want our money. That's kind of the big goal.
Yeah.
And we do know that the high definition remasters of Batman the Animated Series are going to debut there before they're released on Blu-ray in October, which I'm really excited because it's Warner Archive doing it. It's a really nice box set of everything from Batman the Animated Series except for Mystery of the Batwoman. For some reason, that's not included, but it does include Sub-Zero and Mask of the Phantasm. So that's fantastic. I mean, and it's the quality. If you look, there's some side-by-side comparisons up online. It is a 4:3 aspect ratio, so they're not trimming to turn it into 16:9 like a lot of stuff does. And right now on Amazon, if you go to needlessthingspodcast.com, click on the big Amazon box, you can pre-order it, and it's like $112, which is fantastic for 3 seasons and 2 movies of the best cartoon ever. Did you guys see anything about that?
I think I bought the movie Mask of Phantasm, or at least I think I got it a couple of years ago whenever it came out on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I bought it too, but I mean, I've got to have high def, because if you look at other stuff Warner has done, like the Brave and the Bold high def, is just, it's incredible. So animation, like when they go back and restore animation to that quality, to me, it's worth a double dip, because I've got the whole animated series on DVD, but some of them don't look great. There are slight issues in the picture quality, some of them. So this for me is an instant buy. So I'm stoked about that. But yeah, they will be debuting on the streaming service. A lot of the Warner Archive stuff that has come out, like the Superman cut that they released last year, Supergirl came out today actually. A lot of that stuff is going to be available. A lot of the old movies. And I think the Wonder Woman TV show, it won't be in high def, but that's going to be available. I mean, if you look at it, DC has an equal selection of old media to fill out that service. So it's looking good by my standards. Next up, do we continue with DC, or do you guys want to sidetrack into one of the other bits of news?
We can continue with the DC shows on CW.
Okay, let's do that.
I mean, we saw they talked about, got more confirmation that Arrow is going to do what essentially is the Supermax storyline that was going to be the movie years and years ago. But the Longbow Hunters are also there for some reason. Right. I can't exactly figure out why the Longbow Hunters are also there. I mean, I guess, I don't know.
Well, but it's because they've got 22 to 24 episodes.
Yeah.
And with Supermax, I mean, that's crazy that they're pulling from, an unmade movie from, 10 years ago now? Yeah. That they're using that as a basis for a storyline. That's pretty awesome.
They announced, I think before San Diego, they announced that the crossover will involve Batwoman and that she's going to have a show next year.
Yeah, they've already ordered that to pilot, right?
Yeah. Legends of Tomorrow will not be on the crossover this year. Which is kind of sad. They're kind of one of the best parts. What was the news? Oh, Legends of Tomorrow. Rip Hunter will not, if he's on at all this season, and probably is going to be off for a little while. I guess they only have more room for one British man in a trench coat with Mr. Constantine this season.
That's fine by me, because I love I can't remember, or I love Arthur Darvill, but I cannot stand Rip.
I mean, after a while, like once Sarah kind of became the captain,
yeah, she's awesome.
Didn't really have much of a role there anymore.
No.
Just kind of became extra. Now, I think one of the most exciting things for me of all San Diego was in the preview for Legends of Tomorrow, we have confirmation that Beepo will be on next season.
That's good. That's good.
If you don't know, Beepo is God. And one of the greatest things that's ever happened on television.
Legends and Flash are the only two CW shows. Well, I guess there are only 4 of them, but they're only those are the only ones we finished last season. We gave up on Supergirl and Arrow.
I have not finished Super.
It's just awful.
I just couldn't do it. Like all that rain stuff just got terrible, and I'm trying to finish it soon. The stuff they showed from Black Lightning, I really enjoyed Black Lightning. And the stuff they showed for next season looks great. So I'm looking forward to that coming back.
I need to give that one another chance. I watched the first episode, and I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't think it was for me.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I just haven't been able to catch up on it. I'm behind on all of them.
There's so much. I was actually, I was hoping, because, they announced that Supernatural is going to be shortened by a few episodes this season, and I was kind of hoping maybe the CW or the DC shows would do the same thing, but it doesn't sound like they are, because it's too much damn season. If they would do like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and split it up to where they had 2 or 3 storylines every season, that would be fine, but they just, you can't do it in this day and age. One story does not last 22 to 24 episodes. It just doesn't.
And yeah, they did. I hate it. I was really hoping they were going to come out and talk about Flash wasn't going to be so time travel centric. We know his daughter is the big new thing, or is their daughter, yeah. But nope, all going to be all about time travel. And that show drags when it's time travel.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Can we just have a speedster villain again instead? Can we do that?
They only have 2 ideas on that. I'll take speedster villain over time travel.
Although you hear the news about the back half of the season.
No, I don't know if I did.
They want a King Shark Gorilla Grodd team up.
Oh, I did see that. So, I'll watch a whole season just to get to that.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll skip 2 seasons to watch the back half of that season.
Although the bad news about that is it's going to take up a massive part of their budget, so you're probably going to get like 8 episodes that are just them hanging out in a hallway talking about their feelings.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Irish being the worst.
I don't know that we'll... I'll wait for word of mouth on Supergirl and Arrow, but I don't think we're going to just automatically watch them this year. My son loves Flash too much for us to not watch it, and Legends of Tomorrow is just good. It's great.
It still blows me away that Legends of Tomorrow has become the best of the DC shows.
The worst first season. As a matter of fact, the first season of that show... Well, no, it's not the worst DCCW season, but it was the worst first season for sure.
Oh,
it was tough. It was certainly tough.
And now it is easily not just the best DCCW show, but like one of my favorite shows I watch.
Oh yeah, I look forward to it a lot every week, and that's crazy for where that show started.
Well, that was the one that we kept up with weekly, and that we didn't let back up at all.
Yep. I agree. I think that's DW stuff.
Then Gotham, we know, is coming back for a shortened season.
Speaking
is
of
that right? Didn't they say this was the last season?
Yeah, this is it.
That's someone that doesn't watch the show. I think I saw that.
They've only got 12 or 13 episodes, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, and so it's a mix, right? It's going to be a mix of basically, I think, a continuation kind of No Man's Land and Year Zero.
Well, here's my theory. It is going to take every storyline that has happened in the Batman comics from No Man's Land through now,
Dark Knight Returns,
through Dark Knight Returns, and not even through Dark Knight Returns, through that Alex Ross one. What is the
Kingdom Come?
Through Kingdom Come. It's going to
Batman Beyond.
Beyond, and it'll do all of that in 13 episodes.
Oh, I'm going to miss it so much when it's
gone.
I
am too, man. Oh, my gosh. We're going to have to watch Smallville or something.
Oh, it's the best show.
For our craziness fix. Oh, yeah, it was funny. We were watching a show the other night. The Joel McHale show with Joel McHale on another Netflix quality show. And Justin Hartley showed up. And I was like, wait a minute, that's Green Arrow. And Mrs. Troublemaker didn't remember him because, I understand Stephen Amell, I get it. But I was like, no, he's the real Green Arrow. He's the reason there's an Arrow TV show.
Oh. So, he is on that This Is Us show.
That's what he's
like
promoting.
One of the main stars for This Is Us, and so me and the wife watch it, and it's like a cry every week kind of show.
Oh,
but she does not appreciate my constant comment of Green Arrow totally wouldn't do that, and Superman should just come help them out with their bills.
Yeah, I like that guy. He's great. It's too bad he's on a tearjerker show. All right, so I think that covers CW. Do we want to move on to the DC movies? I guess go ahead and cover DC and
Aquaman.
Let's talk about Aquaman because I thought that trailer was friggin' amazing.
I kind of I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. But I wasn't as blown away as everyone else was. There are parts I really liked, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I want to see this right now.
Oh man, that was if they had taken pre-orders for that, I would have put my money down for the theater, for the Blu-ray, for whatever. And it's Jason Momoa is what he is. He's the big hunky beefcake sort of snarky guy, and that's what he does, and he's great at it. And he's going to bring ladies and fellas into the theater. But I loved Atlantis. I loved that big giant shot of Atlantis that just looked like an epic. I mean, James Wan had said early on in production that they weren't really going to pay a whole lot of attention to how Atlantis was portrayed in Justice League. And they very clearly did not. Because this is Atlantis as I want to see Atlantis on film, with giant crab monsters fighting dudes on armored battle sharks and giant armored seahorses and fish people, and I just thought it looked awesome. I'm stoked.
Yeah, very Games of Thronesy. So I think that's going to attract a lot of folks.
Yeah, well, and Patrick Wilson. Patrick Wilson's great. I mean, he's an awesome actor.
And I like the picture, like people were complaining about, kind of the snarky, not enough seahorses, and the director came back, like on Twitter, with a photo of like, oh yeah, well here's your seahorse. Had photos of mock-ups of attack seahorses that they have in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. They're doing it.
I did really like the Black Manta design, and he's shooting lasers out of his helmet. I mean, hopefully this will kind of help to start to turn DC around. I mean, Wonder Woman obviously did a great job, but then Justice League kind of tornadoed that.
Well, and it's interesting because Justice League, like, you can... I personally, I can't entirely shit on it because you can see them course correcting. Like, it's... They grabbed the wheel and they kept the car from running into a tree. And it wasn't like the coolest move ever, but you're like, oh, we didn't hit the tree. And that was actually kind of fun, but we can probably do better. And it looks like they're going to do better because we got the really fun, epic, colorful Aquaman trailer, and then the Shazam trailer that... Now, you guys know Shazam, know Captain Marvel, if you want to call him. Either way,
Captain Marvel. I hate the fact that they call him Shazam.
Ever since I was a little kid, he's been Shazam. Like I didn't
that's
even
crazy to me.
I didn't even know he was Captain Marvel until like 20 years ago or something. But whatever he is,
I think they certainly hit the right tone. Like it looked funny, and it's showing a different side of the DC universe, and it feels like Captain Marvel. The heart of the story is that it's a kid that suddenly has the powers of an adult, and so it's kind of the wish fulfillment fantasy, like Big, but with superpowers. So I don't know. I've been a big Captain Marvel fan forever, since I can remember, and so it always bugged me, especially when they changed his name to Shazam. It's not his name. That's the word. But I get the legal logistics and all that fun stuff. But no, I'm certainly excited about it. And after seeing what's his name, Zach from
Zachary Levi.
Yeah. He looks great. The costume looks great. They've announced The Rock as Black Adam for years. I mean, that's been forever ago. So I guess he's probably not in it.
He's not. They've officially said he is not in it.
Yeah, that he's going to show up later, potentially.
So what's his name? Dr. Savannah. He's not a little person in this anymore, but yeah, he'll be the villain.
And he's played by former Sinestro Mark Strong, who is tremendous. Like it still bums me out that Green Lantern movie was so terrible when they had such an amazing actor playing Sinestro and the potential for a great movie that the stupid studio derailed. But anyway, that doesn't matter.
A great twist in the second one, once he turns.
Yeah, absolutely, except that they put it at the end of the first one, so it took all the suspense out of it. But it doesn't matter, because that's trashed. And now, apparently, we're getting a Green Lantern Corps movie being written by Jim, which is very interesting.
And he said it's going to be a completely different mythos. Like, it's going to be, I can't remember exactly how
he said it's going to be
it.
reimagined.
Yeah, apparently they're going to change quite a bit from the comics even, which could be really interesting.
Yeah, interested to see how that plays out, because I thought the one thing that the really bad Green Lantern movie did best was the Green Lantern Corps and the kind of the setup of all the different worlds and how, like, you know, they were training on Oa. So like to say like, oh yeah, that movie was trash, we're gonna kill the best part about it and change all the best parts about it.
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily what they're gonna do. But I will say this: I think Green Lantern Corps would work better as a TV show than as a movie.
But they can do like a police procedural, like a Law and Order in space, basically.
Yeah, something along those lines would be very cool. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. That's a long way off, which is fine because we've got Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman 1984, which I have not had the opportunity to see anything from. Did they even really show anything?
To the audience. I haven't seen it online yet.
Okay, maybe that's why I haven't seen it. They just haven't published anything.
Yeah, and it sounds like it was something about her in a mall dragging somebody, and I mean, the reactions of it were good, but it wasn't a trailer or anything.
Okay.
Didn't they make a comment about, what's his name? Chris Evans? Not Chris Evans. I'm getting all my Chris's.
One of the other Chris's, Captain Kirk.
One of the many superhero Chris's. They made a comment about, Chris Pine, about his character, but I didn't. I only saw like the headline.
Somehow he's in it and he's old, even though he blew up.
Yeah, even though he died theoretically in the last one, he's in the new one somehow.
Well, I like that guy. He's a charmer. So I trust the people behind this movie to do a good job. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about what's her name, who I really like and whose name has totally escaped my head. Kristen Wiig. I'm not worried about Kristen Wiig being Cheetah at all. I trust them. I trust them.
Yeah, I think of all things, I think DC's got that trust.
Right.
After the last couple Batmans and couple Jokers, and the initial feedback of fanboys who were crying that the sky's falling after the movies came out, they I think they know what they're doing.
So is that it? Is that all of our DC from San Diego Comic-Con?
That's all. I mean, the other big DC announcement was that Supergirl's going to have Dream Girl is going to be on it, and it'll be the first trans superhero on TV. That was one of their major announcements, but other than that, I think that was everything.
Yeah, and they had her in some kind of, not Dream Girl, but Supergirl. I saw a promo picture of Supergirl in some kind of really awesome-looking space armor. I don't know what that was about, but it looked cool. Well, then moving on to Godzilla, King of Monsters. Did you guys see this trailer?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I did. Yeah, it looked great.
It is I knew this, but I had forgotten it, that Michael Dougherty, the guy that directed Trick or Treat and Krampus, is directing this movie, which is tremendous because both of those movies, if you somehow haven't seen them, are awesome. And I'm very excited. Everything we saw in this trailer looked amazing. It looked like it is using some of the best aspects of Godzilla mythology to great effect. I like 11 from Stranger Things. She's great. I don't know what the heck she's supposed to be in it, but it's cool that she's in it. And it just looks like spectacle. It looks crazy. It looks like madness because just the one shot of Rodan flying over. I said it like the sculptor for some reason. It's not the sculptor Rodan. It's Rodan flying over that town, just blowing the houses apart. Just everything about it, man.
The only thing, so I've watched that trailer 3 times now, and I can't exactly figure out the plot from what they're telling me. So the lady says that extinction level events are coming, right? The planet, and that the planet has ways to heal itself, But then also she says we have to go find all the monsters and wake them up.
I think what she's trying to sell is that these Titans, doesn't she call them Titans?
Yeah.
That these Titans have to be awakened and reunited to protect the Earth from whatever it is that's wrong. Okay. But it seems to me that she's also kind of leaving part of the story out.
Uh-huh.
And that her like, this may be a Thanos situation where she's like, and how they're going to protect it is by wiping out half the planet.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I was getting. Because nobody's waking up three-head dragon monster and being like, yeah, this guy helped us.
Right.
Yeah,
and
so I can totally see a situation where, like, yeah, she wakes them all up to kill us, and then Godzilla and his friend 11 save the day.
Yes.
I don't understand. What do you mean, like the three-headed dragon that shoots fire out of each mouth that destroys half a city with one breath is not going to save people?
And then King Kong, I'm sure, is showing up at some point. Like, that'll be like the end or something.
That'll be a tag
in credits,
or something.
Sure.
Which I've got to say, though, like, how do you go from Godzilla versus Rodan versus Mothra versus King Ghidorah to Godzilla versus King Kong?
He's going to get some lasers.
He punches hard.
He a hard puncher. Man, yeah, I'm very excited about that movie. I saw the Aquaman trailer first, and I was like, man, that was crazy. I can't believe how epic that looked. And then I got to be honest, the Godzilla trailer kind of blew it away. Mm-hmm. And I'm still excited about Aquaman, don't get me wrong, but like Godzilla was in the music. Also, instead of playing some like slowed down cover of a pop song, a very nice like orchestral type version of one of the old Godzilla themes. So that was nice too.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't catch that. That's awesome.
Let's see. I've got two more notes after this one. Jay, is there anything? Well, you haven't really had time to look at
I have
anything.
0 notes, so you officially have 2 more than I do. So,
Ryan, was there anything else?
Jump to the next subject.
Was there anything else you had, Ryan?
About what?
Just any movies, TV, anything. Anything that's not toys, basically.
They showed scenes from Iron Fist from the new season.
I have not seen those yet. Are they as good as everybody said?
I'll be damned, it's really good.
Oh, wow.
And he looks like, I mean, the fighting looks really good. What's his name? Finn Jones, what that guy's name is.
Yeah.
You can tell he's, like, gone to training. It looks slick. Like, it looks like Iron Fist should look. And then Steel Serpent, obviously, is going to be the bad guy they set up last season. Like, and it makes me now retroactively look and think, okay, well, it makes kind of sense. He was kind of crappy when he first came back. And he's slowly getting better and better.
See, that's how I felt the whole time, is when he came back, he was still essentially like a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, he hadn't had the opportunity to mix with society and to develop emotionally or anything.
Yeah.
And they followed that up in Defenders. I'm sorry, I don't understand the Danny Rand hate that people have.
Yeah. I mean, it was annoying that every time he said, I'm Iron Fist, defender of Kung Lao, like, but it was funny. You know, and I think some of the dialogue was a little clunky, but I think the second season is going to be really good. And then the previews for Gifted looked really good. If you're not watching Gifted, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Especially like 90s X-Men.
Yes.
It's just Easter egg after Easter egg.
And it even feels, it's more sophisticated, but something about it even feels kind of like a 90s show. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it
feels like that Generation X if it got made well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do. I do remember that. And it was corny and hokey, but the story, it was the tone that was the problem. The story was solid. And here... Right. They've got the story, and it's also not like a lot of the if for any of the listeners, if the commercials or trailers or whatever for the Gifted put you off because they seemed a little too grim, it's not like that. Like tonally, it's like better Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episodes. Like, there's lightness and there's humor, and these characters like each other. Like, there's so many shows have. I mean, they have disagreements, and they have issues that they have to resolve, but that first season, it was about the circumstances surrounding them. It wasn't about them making their own problems.
Mm-hmm. And if anything, it shows you in real life how horrifying the Stepford Cuckoos would be.
Oh my gosh, yeah, dude, that was tremendous. So yeah, Gifted, super stoked about the Gifted coming back.
Yep. I think that was it.
What else is coming back? Oh, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, which I didn't even know. I mean, you and Chad definitely are more up on that than I am. I didn't know there was supposed to be a further story than what the show, and I guess I just didn't realize that it was kind of a, because I knew they had the extra season on Netflix, and I thought that was it.
No, I almost peed my pants when they announced it. So everybody always knew that there was one more storyline.
Well, not everybody.
Yeah, I would say not everybody.
Real Star Wars fans.
You and Chad.
There was one more. Come on. But it was, and they revealed a time later, and it's been brought up in books in the new canon, that it's the Siege of Mandalore. So kind of where we ended with the Clone Wars before, Darth Maul, Dark Saber, and he's running Mandalore. And so this season, and they haven't said how long it's going to be.
Oh, I thought they had announced 12 episodes.
Is it 12? Maybe they did.
I think they did.
It's going to be Ahsoka and them basically freeing Mandalore.
Yeah, that's what I read, is that Ahsoka comes back into the fold to take care of this with Anakin.
Yeah, and so what's going to be really interesting, I think, especially doing it now, is they can kind of seed in some rebel stuff.
Oh, for sure.
With the clans and the Ren and all sorts of stuff. And then on the other side, too, they can start to, they may have some Crimson Dawn stuff, too. As Maul gets kicked off Mandalore, he should go to start Crimson Dawn, as seen in Solo.
It wouldn't surprise me a bit if they start out named third party, at the beginning of the season, and then at the end you realize, oh, this is the criminal organization that Maul is going to take over after he leaves Mandalore.
Yeah. I'm hoping what they've said is that it's going to go pretty close to the Battle of Coruscant, that it's not going to go all the way, which I was kind of let down because I'd kind of like to see Order 66 happen on the show, and just to see Rex and everybody and some aftermath from that, like all the clones we know.
Right.
I'd like to see that happen, but I don't think it's going to.
I think that's, as much as it happened in a Star Wars movie, a franchise ostensibly for children, I think that's a little too rough for our Clone Wars format. As hardcore as it's gotten, as much as we've seen Anakin Skywalker ignite his lightsaber through somebody's chest, I think the brutal slaying of the Jedi is just a tad too heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know for me, I thought prior to the prequels coming out, I always thought that was going to be a bigger deal, and we'd see a lot more of that as the Darth Vader going through and hunting down existing Jedis. So,
well, plus they're covering that in the current comic, from what I understand.
They are.
Yeah, they have in the comic, but I always pictured that as in the movies.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Like you said, like with the shows and some of the movies, it's geared toward a younger audience.
All right. Well, if that's it for that one, I think our last topic is the pending reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Josser, I cannot remember right now who the showrunner is because I had never heard of her. But the focus is, which honestly, one of the focuses of Buffy had always been a certain amount of representation that I guess was forward-thinking for the late 90s, but today seems very basic. And now it's sort of the next logical step of diversity and representation and empowerment that Buffy could be. My only disagreement with this is that they're calling it a reboot and not a continuation, and I don't understand why that's necessary.
Now, so I have never watched Buffy.
What?
Oh, at all?
I tried it. It was not good.
And look,
if you'd like to borrow, I've got all the seasons on
and
DVD.
I get it. It's the first season. If you start, it's a bit to ask, and if you start anytime after that, anytime after the first half of season 2 is so continuity heavy that it could be a little bewildering.
But am I correct? At the end of the show, was Sunnydale? Didn't it like sink into hell or something?
Well, there was a big crater. They destroyed the Hellmouth. Or they closed the Hellmouth, and Sunnydale was a massive crater.
Okay, I didn't know if maybe that's why they needed a reboot. It would just be too hard to keep going.
Well, no.
Even after that, they had the official comic books. The first season, quote unquote, season was written by Joss Whedon, released overseen by him. That showed with the aftermath, because in addition to the Hellmouth being closed, they had triggered basically all the potential slayers. So instead of just one slayer at one time, you had an entire world full of slayers.
Okay, well, see, there's the problem. I mean, they can't keep that continuity.
Characters.
If you're a good writer, you can because here's the problem again with a reboot is the beats of Buffy's origin story.
Twice.
Making that fresh and new and interesting. Yeah, twice over, we know.
Yeah, you kind of had the watered down original version in the movie, and then done much better in the TV series.
So are they going to do all the characters too? Like, I mean, is it going to be what Buffy and Willow, Xander and Angel, and all that?
They have not said anything about the rest of the cast. We know that Buffy is going to be a person of color. And we don't know anything other than that, really, except that all of your boxes will be checked. If you're into political stuff, the show.
So Riverdale.
Is that wait a minute? You can watch Riverdale, but you can't watch Buffy?
No, I don't watch Riverdale. I see the commercials on the CW.
Okay. My daughter are huge fans of Riverdale. I haven't seen any of it, but I know that they're huge fans.
Yeah, my Mrs. Troublemaker is also a fan of Riverdale. But anyway, anything that continues Buffy on is good. Anything that maybe helps Joss Whedon reestablish his legacy now that it's been tarnished by various things, I think is good, because I'm still a huge Joss Whedon fan. I mean, he's the reason Justice League was watchable at all. So I'm all for this. I don't know that I'll necessarily watch it. They're going to have to do some hard selling to get me into it. But good for it. I want it to do well. I want it to be everything that the people who are championing it want it to be. But having anything to do with it, the best of luck, because more good genre TV is only good for all genre TV.
I did think of something else. We did find out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will not be back until after Avengers 4.
Yes.
They're going to hold it.
And what's the actress's name?
Chloe Bennett.
She's dating some profoundly retarded person. She said that everybody has new haircuts, which some are reading into reality has somehow been changed in the wake of Avengers 4. But me, I just read that every season they've had new haircuts, so whatever.
Yeah. They don't know anything.
No, they don't know anything.
And I kind of go back and forth. Like, are you caught up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes.
I kind of liked how it ended.
Oh, I did too. I feel like that should have just been the end.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
Which granted,
didn't they kind of think that it was going to be? I know there was there was a lot of question that there was even going to be this season.
Yeah,
I'm not. I think Ryan, when I was at your house very recently, it was like Seep, and you just verbally caught me up. I was like, all right, well, I don't need to watch this season.
Yeah, and that was super confusing because they were like in space in the future.
Yeah, the first 3 or 4 episodes of this last season terrible. Everything after that, I enjoyed watching.
Totally redeemed by Deke drinking Zima whenever it happened.
Yeah, that was hilarious. All right, well, I think that wraps up our movie and TV coverage from San Diego Comic-Con. Do you guys feel good about it? Have we covered all the essential nerd video stuff?
Do we want to talk the few comic book news that came out?
Yeah, if you've got
section?
some stuff, let's do it.
I think the saddest bit of news that came a little bit late is they did announce that Saga is going on hold for at least a year.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, they're going to take a break.
At least we were used to the periodic breaks, though. So, I mean, it could be worse. I mean, a year is a really long time, but, it's one of those series, at least you see a plan. Unlike, say, Power, getting a new number 1 and a new relaunch every year and a half. So at least there's, they have a plan behind it and telling everybody.
Speaking for those of us over 40, a year really isn't that long anymore.
It's true. And as often as I pick up my comic books these days.
Seriously.
It won't seem that long.
Yeah, every 2 to 3 months, a year is not that.
The other comic book news that interested me, at least, is Grant Morrison is going to do Green Lantern.
That's great.
I'm definitely going to get that. And what else? There was something else we talked about. Oh, Batman got his underwear back. Yay.
Yes, Batman gets his underwear back. That's excellent. And as you said, the last remnants of the New 52 are being wiped away.
Thank God.
Is there anything, maybe not necessarily San Diego Comic-Con, but is there anything going on in comics lately that you've been particularly stoked about? I know there are more Marvel titles that look appealing to me than there have been in the last several years. I'm pretty excited about Nick Spencer on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There's Chip Zdarsky and his Marvel 2-in-1 has been excellent, and Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, is great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stoked about Fantastic Four.
I've really been enjoying all the X-Men books, all the color books.
Really?
I have. It feels like the 90s with all the teams, and I've liked them.
It didn't look to me like any, and I have not read any of it. This is purely just from my looking at previews every month. To me, it looked like it was a completely non-cohesive mess.
They rarely touch each other.
Huh. Okay.
There's been one crossover between Blue and Gold. And then Red kind of came out of Jean Grey.
Right.
And then at Comic-Con they announced Black is going to be the new one, headed by Emma Frost. But yeah, I've really liked the X-Men color books.
Well, maybe I'll have to go back and check them out.
I would say my biggest comic thing lately is Batman number 50 being an garbage.
The bait and switch with all the build-up.
Well, you knew. I mean, come on.
But come on.
We all
You're going to
knew.
go that long and that's how it's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know that you knew because they did the same build-up for the Superman wedding, so you just assumed it was happening.
Oh, I don't know I don't know anything about the Superman wedding.
And even the Spider-Man, they did the same thing. So it was quite the build-up.
What?
And
Spider-Man and Mary Jane got married.
I know, that's what I'm saying. There was the same build-up. Same with Superman. There was a big build-up for them happening, so you just thought that was happening. And then with Batman, it was kind of
Oh, no. I not only was I 80% certain they weren't going to get married, I was 100% certain if they didn't, that would be how it went down. So I wasn't I understand the sort of wah. I get the letdown of it, but at the same time, that's what had to happen.
Well, it did, but you're telling me Batman, Mr. I think ahead of everything, didn't think about all this until that night?
No, he didn't, because if you notice, all Tom King writes about is family. From Vision to Mr. Miracle to Batman, everything I've read from him has been about family. And he has spent, since he started writing Batman, he has been writing about Batman's sense of family and what that means and what the limits of his feelings about that are. And it makes sense. If you look at the entire run in that context, it all makes sense. He set it up very, very well. And it did, I can't say it felt like a cop-out, because I felt like it was inevitable, but I totally see where it's like, oh, so nothing changed after all that, but I think things will have changed. I think we're going to see a lot of differences. And another important thing that he did is he rebuilt Catwoman's character entirely, and now she's a villain again.
Yeah, that is good.
So a lot of good is going to come out of this, even if it wasn't exactly the result that people were hoping for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And speaking of him and Vision, if you haven't read the Vision Marvel series that he did, it's amazing. It's insanely dark, and was not what I was expecting, having gone into it kind of blind, but super good.
I think the trade is out now, or at least the hardcover collection is out now or soon. But if you go
it's been out for a bit, I think, because I picked it up at Dragon Con last year, maybe at least the first one at the half off trade, one of the half off trade booths. But
oh, nice. Okay, cool.
It's super good. Highly recommend it. Definitely worth picking up.
All right, and on that note, that concludes our coverage of all of the non-toy stuff we felt like talking about from San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh. Yeah.
All right, tune in next week, and we will be talking about the toys of San Diego Comic-Con. Ryan and Jay, thank you for this one, and now let's take a break and talk about some toys.
All righty.
Man, I really did go long in that intro, didn't I? I feel strongly about a lot of things lately. I feel like there's going to be an episode soon where I get some people together and we discuss some societal, cultural things that I'm seeing and that I'm not liking. But I also don't want to do like a political show, so I'm not quite sure how to handle that. I guess until then it'll come in small doses like this James Gunn thing, and we'll see what happens. If you guys would like to let me know via a actually comment whether or not you'd be interested in hearing that sort of thing, you can join the Needless Things Podcast Facebook group if you are not already a member. As a matter of fact, that group is exciting. Lots of pop culture stuff going on all the time, and our pal, head of research Ryan, just posted that Tom Welling will be at Dragon Con this year. Which, by the way, Dragon Con episodes coming soon. Not quite as densely as we have in the past. We still have our Needless commentary for August, and I've got a special episode coming up at the beginning of August. But don't you worry, Dragon Con is indeed on the way. Dragon Con is coming to town. I feel like I needed to end with something a little sillier than normal. Maybe I'll do a whole Dragon Con is coming to town song and video, so I can get like 2 clicks on YouTube, and then one person will say, well, actually it doesn't come to town because it's already in Atlanta. I love you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things Podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.